Hey everybody, this is A&B here, and today I want to show you a cool and exciting way of using Ableton Live's auto pen device. Well, that's at least a way I kind of like to use it anyway. And because we're going to be looking at that in a musical context, I'll be showing you some other production techniques as well. So basically around here where the drop comes in, you'll hear an instrument that kicks in, a lead instrument that has a sort of a staccato feel to it, and that is what we're going to look at today. Cool. Okay, let's go back to Ableton Live and see how this works. Firstly, I'll add a new MIDI track. Wicked. And then select the sound that we're going to start with. In this instance, I went with analog, which is one of Live's built-in devices, and went into actually, I'm just going to put in Bright 2 here in the browser, in the search bar. And so it comes up and I can see it's Bright 2 Reso Noise Pad. Oh, that's it, cool. Just drag and drop it there on the MIDI track. Get rid of the browser, cool. Okay, so after some slight modifications, I think it was a bit of bringing the frequency down a bit here at the filter, also the resonance. Something like this, and then gave it a bit of unison to fatten the sound up a little bit. Yeah, something like that, I think. And then let's just nick this little MIDI clip from here and see what that sounds like. Okay, pretty much what we need. Now let's just bring our auto pen device in here. Browser back. Cool. Let's see what happens when you bring the phase down all the way to 0. So what this means is that the modulation will be now completely in phase between the left and the right channels. And now if you bring up the rate, I quite like this because it can give you a really cool sort of rhythmic feel, especially if you put this into sync like that, and then you can start playing with the rate here. If you bring up the shape as well, then it goes into a bit of a square wave as opposed to just a regular sine wave. Of course, you can select alternative waves here, such as the sawtooth and noise and triangle. But then this gives you a transition between whatever is selected here and a square wave. So let's listen to what this sounds like now. This is pretty good. Okay, let's get rid of this new MIDI track now. Let's go back to what I used here in the track before and see what we have in our effects rack. We've got the auto pan. Let's switch this on and see what that's doing. Okay, so you can see that there's some automation with the rate and with the amount as well. Let's listen to what that sounds like. Wicked. Now, often I find that that putting a reverb before something that ducks the volume can have quite an interesting effect. So let's see what happens here. I put a reverb that's got a fairly large decay time, well, about 4 seconds, sorry, and a dry wet at about 60%. Now, this will be obviously dugged and modified by the auto pan accordingly. this gets really interesting when we have some pitch bend movement on our sounds as well. And if I double click this, you can see there's no pitch bend modulation here, but on the second one we do have one. So let's just get rid of the first MIDI clip and just bring this down here. And let's see what this will sound like. That's nice. Now, for this to work, actually, to jump octaves, you have to go here in analog and to this global panel here. And when you see the PB range, well, on this particular patch, it was set to 6, meaning that if you turn the pitch bend wheel up all the way up, then it gives you 6 semitones up. If you turn it all the way down, it gives you 6 semitones down. Now if you put this obviously to 12, then it means that it will jump an octave up and down. Okay, so next up is multiband dynamics. Now multiband dynamics is basically a great way of applying compression to just a certain frequency range of the spectrum. Now this sound I noticed to have excess in around 2-3 kilohertz that I wanted to remove. Now as you can see, the high frequency range and the low frequency range are completely switched off, so they go through this device unaffected. Now the mid-range has quite a heavy sort of limiting to it. You can see here. Let's see what it does. Now reading this meter is pretty easy. The yellow part of the signal bar, the horizontal bar, is basically showing you the unaffected signal, whereas the orange part of the bar shows you the reduced or the compressed signal. As you can see, at some points it doesn't get compressed at all, and some points there's quite a sort of a heavy compression going on. This is pretty much what we wanted actually, but of course because this is a video tutorial, we're really more like watching and visually checking things rather than listening. But of course I highly recommend to everyone to trust your ears, guys, rather than always the meters. They're really good for backing up your instincts and thoughts and that. Okay, so what have we here after that is basically an EQ8 that does further refinement to our multiband dynamics here. There's a bit of reduction. This is again something that I mentioned in my previous post on EQing and on mixing. Basically a high pass filter applied to this sound, and there's a bit of reduction here at around 2.6 as you can see, and also around 800 Hertz. So it kind of like just sort of tames the sound a little bit, doesn't get that sort of harsh all the way through. Okay, let's listen to what this sounds. Okay, before that, sorry, there's a compressor here. That's a sidechain compressor, and it's getting triggered by the drums group channel, so to give way to our drums. Okay, so let's listen to what the whole thing sounds like all together. Cool, well, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. That's all I've got time for today. Take care, bye.